Hello, my friends. Today I have something a little special for you. Tonight, when the sun goes down, we here in Israel will be having a special meal called the Seder. And the Seder is the meal that begins a 7-day period known as the Passover. And the book that I'm going to read today gives some idea of what some Jewish families, how they celebrate the Passover meal. It's kind of fun. Maybe you'll have a bit of interesting viewing of this, and hopefully you learn something and that you're entertained as well. So the name of this book is Passover Magic, and it's written by Roni Schotter, and the drawings are by Marylin Hafner. Something magical happens every spring. The last white of winter fades from the ground, the grass greens, and out of nowhere flowers appear. Passover comes, and with it come the relatives. And why do the relatives come? Because Passover for the people who are Jewish are like Thanksgiving. And they come to celebrate and enjoy the meal together. For a week, Ben and I have helped clean the house, and now we are ready. Everyone is coming a day early. Grandma and Grandpa arrive first with smiles and hugs, and together we are crumb detectives. Soon the house is Passover perfect. They're crumb detectives. You know what crumbs are? Crumbs are pieces of bread and things that fall on the ground. Because leading up to the Passover meal, one of the things that everyone does is they go around and they clean their house of all of the pieces of bread, known in Hebrew as chametz. And so the idea is to clean all of that out of your house and to get rid of it. Later, Uncle Bernie arrives with kisses and complaints. Aunt Ina with wine and worries, and Cousin Sarah with shouts, and Max with his bear, and Uncle Arnold with yawns. Our house is crowded and close. We are rich in relatives. And you see the picture of these relatives showing up, each of them saying different things like, the traffic was terrible. A lot of chitter chatter as the family settles in and doing all of their greetings. In the morning, everyone rushes to get ready. Ben hunts for his belt, and Max won't wear his tie. Too tight, he cries. Sarah can't find her barrette, and I have lost my ribbon. Grandma and Mama start the chicken and the chicken soup, and soon the house is sweet with the smell of Passover. Would you like to be able to say Passover in Hebrew? That word is Pesach. Can you say that? Pesach. It means to pass over. Where's Harry? Aunt Ina worries. Uncle Harry is coming from far away with our new Aunt Ida. Everyone loves Uncle Harry. And during the week, Uncle Harry is a dentist, pulling teeth out of people's mouths. On the weekends, he's a magician, pulling rabbits out of people's hats. He does a lot of pulling, doesn't he? Mama says Ida used to be Uncle Harry's assistant. She says they fell in love the very first time Uncle Harry sawed Ida in half. I don't know how he put her back together again. Anybody home? Someone yells. Uncle Harry, we all shout and rush to the door. And there he is, short and round and wearing a bright red bow tie. And there beside him is our new Aunt Ida, big and sparkling and very beautiful. This is my lucky charm. This is my Ida, Uncle Harry proudly proclaims. I hope that Aunt Ida didn't wear that dress to the family gathering. She might catch a cold. Sarah! Benjamin, he calls out suddenly. What's this I see? Everyone gasps when Uncle Harry waves his large hand through the air and pulls Sarah's barrette out of her ear and Ben's belt from inside of his sleeve. Now, Max, they tell me you hate wearing ties, but maybe because it's Passover you'll wear one anyway. He opens his hands, and inside them are 2 red bows that are ties, exactly like the one he is wearing. One for you and one for your bear. And over Uncle Harry is the word abracadabra, because that's the famous word that magicians oftentimes say when they do their magic trick. And do you see who's under the uncle's feet? The cat. The cat is always there running things. Everyone laughs and applauds. I look down at my shoes. I have polished them so well that I can see my sad face reflecting in them. I'm the oldest too, of course. And Uncle Harry has nothing for me. Molly, I hear him say, give me your hand. I do, and Uncle Harry turns it over. And there is the most beautiful hair ribbon I've ever seen. Oh, Uncle Harry, I exclaimed, thank you. That's what makes him a great uncle. He doesn't forget anybody, huh? Everyone was excited to see Uncle Harry show up, and he had little gifts for everybody. Do you have an uncle like that in your life? Well, if you don't, when you grow up, you can be that kind of uncle. Sometimes we don't always get what we want, but we can always be to somebody else what they may need. So keep that in mind. Don't be sad. Just wait for the day that you can be what you always hope to be or hope to have. But Uncle Harry has already turned to Grandma. He gives her a hug and he pulls a bouquet of flowers from behind his back. For you, Mama, for the table for Pesach, he says. Oh, Harry, Grandma laughs. Her eyes are full of love. How do you do it? It's Ida, Uncle Harry says. She's my inspiration. Do you remember who Ida is? She is his new wife. For the next few hours, we talk. And everyone tells everyone everything, and in between, we work. Grandma checks the chicken soup, and Uncle Bernie sets the table with the special Passover china. I know lots of families have their own special dishes. Grandma's good china is the way I grew up. And that was like, you didn't even want to eat off of it in case if you broke something. So you were very, very careful with the china. Papa and Grandma roast a bone and an egg for the Seder plate, and they arrange the parsley, the horseradish, and salt water. Even Uncle Arnold helps. Now, if you've never done a Seder meal, okay, there is on the table a special plate that has different items on that plate, and that plate tells a story. The person who leads the Passover meal will be referring to some of these different items. It's kind of like being at a meal where everybody's in kindergarten. And we all know that kindergarten is the best grade ever. Why? Because you have snacks, you do a lot of coloring, and you build with blocks. From there on out, school gets harder, but kindergarten is the best. And the Seder table is like being in kindergarten because there's things to see, there's things to smell, there's things to taste, and there's songs to sing. So this is a very, very nice night, and the adults are preparing that table, like they said, with a bone and an egg, parsley, and salt water. Let's go ahead and hear what else is going on here. So Aunt Ida, her long nails gleaming, remember she's the dish that Uncle Harry has married. She's gleaming and She is chopping apples and nuts while Mama mixes in the cinnamon and wine to make delicious harrowset. Ben, Sarah, Max, and I mold matzo balls from Aunt Edna's special mixture. And Uncle Harry? He waves his magic hands over everything, saying, "The magic food of Passover. Once it's on the table, it disappears." And everybody laughs because Uncle Harry is a fun guy. And there's Uncle Harry doing his abracadabra. Well, the sleepy spring sun is finally set, and at last we are ready. It's time for the Seder. Our special holiday meal is to begin. We open the Haggadot. That's a fancy Hebrew word to say that that's a special book that you read for this particular meal. And it tells the Passover story, and together whisper a blessing. Grandpa washes his hands in a special bowl, and we dip the parsley into salt water and say thank you for all the green growing things on the earth. Then comes the part I've been waiting for. Grandpa reaches into the stack of 3 matzot, which are pieces of, let's call them crackers, okay? Matzot. One is matzah, and more than one is called matzot. And this is a special flat bread for Passover. He pulls out the middle piece, and the name of this one has a special name. It's called the afikomen. But instead of putting half into his lap the way he always does, he winks and he gives it instead to Uncle Harry. Uncle Harry is going to hide the afikomen this year, and whoever finds it gets a prize. Usually it's easy to find, but if Uncle Harry hides it, well, who can tell? Uncle Harry is going to hide the afikomen. Uncle Harry smiles mysteriously and he puts the special matzah in his lap. This is your lap, right? It's time for Max to ask the 4 questions. Why is this night different from all other nights? Why do we eat matzah instead of bread? He begins with one eye, and I watch as Sarah helps Max read. And with the others, I keep an eye on Uncle Harry. Why? Do you remember what Uncle Harry is going to do? He's going to hide the matzah, the afikomen. Uncle Harry never moves from his chair. He does exactly what everyone else does. He reads aloud the words in Hebrew and English that answer Max's questions and tell how the Jews were freed from slavery in Egypt. And when Grandpa says it's time, he sips the sweet wine the grown-ups drink, while Ben, Sarah, Max, and I sip our grape juice. And there's Uncle Max. And what's the girl's name? That's Molly. I love the name Molly. Okay, so we read, we sip, we pray, and we taste the foods from the Seder plate, dipping the sharp horseradish into the sweet harrowset to remember the bitterness of slavery and the sweetness of freedom. Then finally it's time to eat. There's fish and there's chicken, matzo ball soup and sweet potatoes, and mountains of harrowset. And just as Uncle Harry said it would, the food disappears. But still Uncle Harry never rises from his chair. Look at all that good food going into the dining room. Oh, too much, Uncle Bernie complains, holding his stomach. Maybe the matzo balls were too heavy, Aunt Ina worries. They were perfect, Ina, Uncle Bernie answers. Like pillows, feather pillows, I say. And Uncle Arnold, he yawns. You know what happens when you eat a lot? You want to go ahead and take a big nap. Well, I'm sleepy too, and my eyelids are heavy, but I must keep them open, for I have to watch Uncle Harry. Seems that Uncle Harry still is not moving. Time to hunt, Papa calls out, startling me. And Ben, Sarah, Max, and I run to Uncle Harry to search his lap for the afikomen, the special matzah. But there's nothing. Ben searches his pockets. Nothing. How did he do it? In cupboards, under chairs, we search everywhere and we find nothing. Harry, Grandpa pleads, tell them, are they warm or are they cold? My assistant will tell them, Uncle Harry says, smiling at Aunt Ida. Sarah, Max, and Ben are winter cold, she says, but Molly is summer sizzling. I am near the curtains, and excitedly I push them aside. Nothing. Butkus. Uncle Harry looks surprised. It should be there, he says, finally getting up from his chair. He searches behind the curtains and he scratches his head. Something is not right here, he says. We need magic. Ben, Sarah, Max, and Molly, help me. Close your eyes, concentrate, and picture Passover and say what you see. So here's a picture of the children tearing apart the living room, looking for the hidden afikomen. And Uncle Harry seems surprised, but is he really surprised? Does he not know where the afikomen is? Or is this just part of his extra long story to get the children very interested? Well, I close my eyes so tight they hurt. I concentrate on Passover and I see the Seder table full of food and my relatives full of love. And then I see my ancestors hurrying across the desert, escaping from slavery, full of hope, I say out loud. Freedom, I hear Ben whisper. Family, Sarah says softly. For once, she doesn't shout. Food, Max giggles. Perfect, Uncle Harry says, and we open our eyes. See, this meal is to remember a long time ago when the Israelites were freed from their captors, their owners in Egypt. And the Lord God brought them out of slavery. And this is what the meal is to commemorate. Commemorate is a big fancy word for remember. We yank the curtain aside, and there, where it wasn't before, is the matzah. And Sarah snatches it and shouts, presents! The grown-ups laugh, and Aunt Ida hands Uncle Harry a handkerchief. He waves it through the air, and then he opens it to reveal 4 magic flowers that squirt when you squeeze them. There's Uncle Harry with the flowers. Have you ever seen a flower like this? You put it in your pocket, and it has like a straw, a tube with a little bit of water, and you get somebody to smell the flower, and you press it, and it shoots water in their face. So Uncle Harry is giving those as a present. Grandpa gives each of us a beautiful book about Passover, and we give him the matzah so all of us can share it with dessert. And look down on the floor where Grandpa's sitting. Are my eyes telling me the truth? Are there 2 cats there in the house playing on the pillow? It sure looks like it to me. Kittens. Very nice. That would be a good Passover meal indeed. Last of all, Mama opens the door for Elijah. Elijah, the invisible prophet of hope. Will he drink from the cup we have set out for him on our table? The wind gusts, the candles flicker, and the wine in his cup wobbles. And when it settles, it seems there is less. Elijah, I wonder, or Uncle Harry. And see the cat? He's sitting up in Elijah's chair. He doesn't want to be left out of the fun. We sing, holding each other's hands in a large circle of love, and then at last the Seder is over. Uncle Harry kisses Aunt Ida, and Uncle Arnold snores in his chair, and Sarah, Max, and Ben smile drowsily. And for me, well, I sit wide awake, wondering about so many things. About the matzah, about Elijah's cup, about the specialness of the day, and what made it so special. Was it Uncle Harry's magic, or was it the magic of Passover? The thing that the meal is supposed to cause in everyone's hearts, whether they're young people or the very old people or people in between, is to remember how things were and to be thankful. To remember that God delivered us from a difficult time. And year after year after year, we celebrate that meal so that we never forget. That's important, that we always remember God's goodness in our life. There are times that we feel hardship, but God is always with us, and God is leading us. Maybe you know the story, and if not, maybe your mom and dad can tell it to you. But during the Passover, when the Lord leaded the children of Israel out of Egypt, Moses got to a big, big river called the Red Sea. And through the Lord's miraculous hand, he allowed the river to open up. Some of the water went to the left, some of the water went to the right, and the children of Israel were able to walk through it to go to a place called the Sinai. And once they got to the other side, and their enemies were chasing them, the water fell in on itself, and it took all the bad people away, and the children of Israel were safe in the Sinai. The Lord guides, he leads, and he protects. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but you just have to be patient and you have to wait. And the Passover meal is one of the ways we have to celebrate and remind us throughout the year that this is the case. So I thank you for listening to this story with me. I hope that your day and night are wonderful. And remember, wash your hands, brush your teeth, and be well. Bye-bye.